Welcome into Bobcat Insider. I'm Ashley Washburn. Alongside Keaton Glogly, Bobcats are coming off quite the Week 6 game. There were no shortage of entertainment between the flyovers, runouts, a great game inside Bobcat Stadium for homecoming. What did you see from that game?
Well, first of all, we saw a flyover, which was amazing, and it was one that was a little bit more tied in than usual. Emily Frazier, first-year student here, she was singing the national anthem, and her father, Billy, was in one of those airplanes as one of the pilots, which was just awesome to witness and certainly electrified the crowd.
And it was one of the sweetest moments. I got to talk to them in the second half, and, you were just seeing the emotion on his face as he was talking about flying over, knowing that his daughter was in that stadium singing the national anthem. You saw some little tears going down his face, knowing that he's eventually going to be back in Bozeman, and hopefully a couple months he's going to retire in February, but just a special moment in Bobcat Stadium.
And it was because of that flyover we got actually not one but two runouts from the rodeo team. So if you were there and you were witnessing it, they came out once when the team was not out there. That was actually to get some nervous energy out of the horses. They got a little spooked by the flyover, and then we got the traditional run out with the pyrotechnics and the players coming out. It was pretty fun and special.
Well, rightfully so. I think it spooked me even though I was expecting it. It was very loud. But if you have no idea what we're talking about and you missed that homecoming game, here's sights and sounds from Week 6 from MTN's Brandon Sullivan.
Well, an opportunity for Montana State to add some history today. A win this afternoon, and Montana State would tie the program record for most consecutive home wins. At the 50-yard line. I think it was ready short with the hit. Callahan O'Reilly, his third interception of the year.
I'm still getting chills over that flyover, just the overall atmosphere inside Bobcat Stadium. There's no doubt we were almost broke that attendance record again, and they were about 40 fans short, but it was an electric atmosphere.
Yeah, it was the third time already this year with 21,000 plus at Bobcat Stadium. Prior to this year, it had only happened 3 times in program history. And the defense stood up strong. Callahan O'Reilly, the defensive player of the week this week in the Big Sky. We're talking about that. And Tommy Mellott is back this week with head coach Brent Vigen coming up after this on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
I'm Keaton Glogly alongside head coach Brent Vigen. Montana State coming off a 37-6 win against Idaho State on homecoming at home in Bozeman. And Coach, the big news is Tommy Mellott is cleared and ready to play, but I do want to start with Callahan O'Reilly. Here he is, first defensive player of the week in the Big Sky of his career. What did you see from Callahan O'Reilly this week?
Well, he's played real well all season, first off, and the thing that happened Saturday, he was able to create a couple turnovers. He forced a fumble right before the half. got the interception in the second half, in addition to the nine tackles. So, he's probably been in position to maybe get this award a couple times this season. This one with the stats put him over the top. But really appreciated his consistency throughout the year.
Yeah, 3 interceptions now for Callahan O'Reilly. That's 9th in the nation and 2nd in the conference at this point. And, on the defensive side, gave up that touchdown in the first drive, but other than that, really locked in. What did you see from the defensive performance this week?
Yeah, that first drive, they made a couple plays, and we had a blown coverage for their touchdown. No one panicked. I think we kept going back out on the field. Whether they moved the ball past midfield or not, we kept them out of the red zone the rest of the game. And the guys just were in the right place, tackled the ball. I thought we defended the pass very well and put enough pressure on the quarterback to make it complicated.
And did we see Kenneth Iden on the inside of your defensive line a little bit this week?
Yeah, in third down situations, we'll put Kenny on the inside, take Blake off, and just to get a little bit more speed out there. So that's our cheetah package, and those guys aren't getting out there as much as we like. Getting in the 3rd and 10 is ultimately where we want to get defenses, and when we get in those longer yard situations, that's when you see that grouping out there. Yeah,
that cheetah package, was that all the speed guys?
Yes, exactly.
I want to talk about one of the other packages we got to see. Devin Slaughter, a great story, Army Ranger, just starting to get involved a little bit. You guys use this Delta formation with him in the backfield on the offensive side, even though he's a D lineman. Tell us a little bit about Devin Slaughter.
Yeah, Devin was served our country after initially being wanting to be a college football player at Oregon State. That didn't work out. He left after a semester, spent time overseas serving our country, found his way to Montana State. It was brought up to me by a couple different people that we got this big guy that has a football background that you should maybe look at. This is going back in the spring. We brought Devin on. He's had a few injuries, just kind of transitioning into training for football. So we've missed a lot of spring, missed a lot of fall, but now we're trying to find as many roles as we can. So part of that's lining up in the offensive backfield. He's on our field goal PAT team as well. So really appreciate Devin and all he's brought to our program.
And then Omar Ibedian was a part of that a little bit as well. We've seen him getting into that offensive line mix a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what Omar's doing lately.
Yeah, Omar, when he's played guard for us, has played really well. He's kind of been that 6th guy that's played regularly, and then putting him in this package where we have 6 linemen makes sense. He's a young guy still. He's a true freshman essentially after going to Army Prep School last year, and really like what he's doing for us now, but then ultimately think he's got a great future.
All right, so getting ready to roll. Montana State's on the road at Northern Colorado this coming week. A little bit later, we'll get a little bit deeper into how Tommy Mellott will get back into action, along with Sean Chambers and more. But up next, we've got our next episode of The Final Drive with Ashley Washburn. She's talking to Ty Okada, his journey from walk-on to captain and now indispensable nickelback on this defense. More of the Bobcat Insider coming up after this.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Hey, yo. Run it up, 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 on another run it up, 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 I said I'm on another run it up.
All right, Ty, we got to talk at the Big Sky Football Kickoff, and now the football season is in motion. Does it feel like it's just flying by, this final drive with Montana State?
Absolutely. I mean, it's incredible how fast time has gone here, and I've been here for an extra few years, granted, given COVID, so it's just flown by, especially this year. We're already 3 games down, getting ready for conference play. To your point, it's just flying by.
Well, as we gear up into conference play, your name, Ty Okada, is a name that a lot of Big Sky teams know, especially probably those opposing offenses. But I wouldn't say that was necessarily the case in 2017 when you joined this program as a walk-on. How does a kid from Minnesota end up at Montana State?
That's a long story, but Coach Andy Hill, actually, a rival coach of mine, he's the head coach at Woodbury High School, where I'm from, but I went to Eastridge, reached out on my behalf, and very thankful for him and getting me connected with the Montana State coaches and just speaking on my behalf and getting in touch with them is what helped me get here.
You were a multi-sport athlete in high school. You were ready to go play to Division III, play baseball and football. How crazy to think that, 7 years later, you're playing at a Division I, getting ready to close out your college football career?
Yeah, no, it's wild, and it's been an incredible journey, and I wouldn't change a thing, and I'm very thankful for it all. And actually, another piece of that is I didn't even know I was going to possibly wrestle too. Those were actually my only other two offers, were to wrestle, other than play at Division III for both football and baseball. And so I never really was considering wrestling, because that takes a whole different breed of person. I commend anyone out there who's wrestling in college. So yeah, no, it's been an incredible journey, and I wouldn't change a thing.
You've mentioned Coach Hill a couple times of just how he's, was a big playing factor in how he got you here. He actually didn't even coach you. He was your rival high school coach. Can you just talk about that relationship with him?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that means a lot. So speaking on how he was a rival coach of ours, and we've had some great games back and forth between our high school and his high school. And just the relationship. My brother actually ended up graduating from Woodbury High School, and he built a connection with Andy Hill through one of his classes. And so already having that pre-established relationship helped me, kind of get connected with Coach Hill, and just letting him know, like, hey, this is my goal. I want to play at the highest level possible. I know that you have the connections. Is there any way that you could help me out with that? And he was super open and willing to do that, and I just can't thank him enough for that.
Well, he was a driving force on getting you here, and I wouldn't say your path has necessarily been straightforward. You started out on special teams, you dabbled in a little bit of corner, then finally found your way to nickel, and then even sprinkled in there were a lot of injuries. Did it ever feel kind of overwhelming?
I would say at the time, it'd be pretty naive of me to say that it wasn't at the time. Hindsight 2020, going through all those things has allowed me to get to this very spot right here. So like I said earlier, I wouldn't change a thing about it. And to your point, there was a lot going on, a lot of changes, but through all those experiences, it's allowed me to gain perspective and develop me into the player and the person that I am today. And so I'm thankful for it all.
Walk on to scholarship is one thing, but walk on to team captain is a whole other feat within itself. 6 years ago, did you ever think that this is how you would be playing out your final year at Montana State?
No, not at all. I really couldn't have dreamt of this, but the experience and just getting to this point is something that I'm extremely thankful for, and it's been a blessing.
Especially when you take a look back at, starting on as a walk-on from Minnesota. Montana State was actually a school you looked at not even necessarily to play football. How crazy is it that you're riding it out here, a town that you actually grew to love before you even knew you were going to play football here?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely incredible, and it's wild for sure, because I remember applying here thinking Bozeman looks beautiful, and I'd be thankful just to go to school here and spend my time here, because Bozeman and being in Montana just sounds like a blast. And so to be able to play football for the Cats has just been an experience I'm incredibly thankful for.
Now we're walking this field right here, and it's crazy to think that, in just a couple of short months, you're going to walk it for your last time. What do you want Bobcat fans in the stands to remember about number 7?
That he's just someone that plays with a lot of passion and love for his teammates, and is willing to do anything and everything for his teammates and for his guys to come out victorious. And I just want Bobcat fans to remember someone who plays with a lot of heart and a lot of passion.
Well, and everyone can see that passion on the field, but, in the classroom, they can't see that. You've already got a degree. You're passionate about, what's next after football. What is that?
Hopefully running my own business. That's definitely the plan, and that's the goal. We're going to make it happen at some point, and it's going to be here in Montana, so I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Well, and, how does football and your, desire to run a business one day correlate? What can you take away from the game of football?
It goes back to that same thing, I think, passion. I have a passion for football, just like I'm going to have a passion for my profession, whatever business that may be, and it's going to help, I want to just drive my own ship and express that passion in my own way.
Well, if you're as passionate about laying people out on the field, I'm sure we'll see that crushing it in the business world as well. Good luck this fall.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Run it up, 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 run it up on a night and run it up, 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 I said I'm on a night and run it up.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Back on the Bobcat Insider, I'm Keaton Galogly along with head coach Brent Vigen, and getting set for the University of Northern Colorado coming up with a 1 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. And Coach, good news, Tommy Mellott cleared, ready to go. What's your plan on how you're going to use these two guys this next week?
Well, great to get Tommy cleared first off, and he was cleared on Monday, so getting a week's worth of practice and seeing him, work back into things was step one, and he's doing fine as that goes. And I think it's to use them both. I think that's the plan. Going back to maybe where we were the first couple games. We're better set up at running back. Those middle two games where we didn't have any running backs was a goofy situation all into its own. So I think using them both, certainly getting Tommy back in there and utilizing all his abilities, and then I think Sean's obviously grown through these past couple weeks to be able to use all the things that he's continued to get better at as well, and hopefully keep defenses really off balance with the both of them.
You've talked a lot about using running backs who have different pace. You have two quarterbacks here who have kind of a different pace. How do you compare and contrast what Tommy's skill set is versus what Sean's skill set is?
Well, I think the one thing Tommy brings is a little bit more experience in our offense, and that does matter. Being able to handle checks both in the run and pass game is part of that. I think Sean's knowledge base was growing there for sure. I think as passers, they are similar. I think the ability for them to make all the throws, I should say, is definitely there. I think as runners is where they're probably most different. I do think Sean's a better between the tackles guy, and you maybe could argue that Tommy's a little bit better out in the perimeter. But I think it's the experience piece, and not that Tommy's got this great wealth of experience, but he's been in this system as long as we've been here, and we're trying to utilize the both of them the very best we can, and it's it's a hard unscripted thing to plan for, because football is just that way, and I think the intent is to go in and use them both like we were earlier, but maybe to bring both their games kind of to a different level all at the same time. So. We'll do the best we can to figure that out on Saturday.
With Northern Colorado coming up, they're 2-4 overall right now, 1-3 in conference. What are some of the things you're looking for in this matchup against the Bears?
Well, I think going on the road, we have to go on the road and be a mature team, ready to take care of business. Really be intent on playing better ourselves first and foremost. I think Northern Colorado playing at home, anytime you're on your home turf. You're typically going to get the best shot from them, and they have some good players. There's no doubt about it. They found a way to win a couple times. They've been competitive, with the likes of Idaho. I know they beat Idaho State. They had a rough game against Sac State, but we got to go in expecting their best shot, and we have to plan on playing better ourselves.
All right, here we go. Montana State and Northern Colorado coming up this Saturday with a 1 o'clock kickoff out in Greeley. All right, when we get back, we'll have Ashley Washburn rejoin us, and we'll get you set for this Saturday kickoff on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Keaton Galogly alongside Ashley Washburn as we wrap up Bobcat Insider and get set for Northern Colorado coming up on Saturday with a 1 o'clock kickoff. All right, Ashley, we get to see Tommy Mellott and Sean Chambers back on the field, really for the first full game of Big Sky Conference play. We've heard what Brent's going to say, but obviously we're going to have a lot of coach speak there. What do you think is going to happen between Tommy and Sean this week and beyond now?
Well, it's a really interesting situation because obviously what they were doing in that Eastern Washington, Oregon State game, Tommy was your guy. But then you see Sean Chambers just put up these insane numbers with Tommy at that you can't start wondering how much can we see more of him on the field. But the Northern Colorado game I don't think will be a great test to see how that 2 QB system is going to roll out. Weber State game looking forward might be a little bit more of an ideal situation. So Tommy's obviously going to get the start on Saturday, but it'll be an interesting seeing how Sean gets in there, hopefully in more red zone situations since he's on 15 rushing touchdowns already this season, chasing a record of his own.
Right, Troy Anderson leading the program. He had the 21 rushing touchdowns in 2018. The Big Sky record for rushing touchdowns is 25. So here we are, midway point. Sean Chambers is 15. And I think we're going to see these guys kind of similar to what we saw those first couple of weeks, and then we'll see it slowly add. And I think the other aspect of this, too, is that Taylor Housewright, Brent Vigen, they've earned a lot of credibility in terms of their creativity. They have proven to be able to get the ball into their playmakers' hands in really creative ways. We may not see all that creativity this week, but we know it's coming out as the season goes on.
But if there's one big takeaway, it's great to see Tommy back and healthy. Can't wait to see him on Saturday. But speaking of Saturday, kickoff is set for 1 o'clock. You can listen to Keaton on the Bobcat Sports Radio Network, or you can watch it on MTN. It's going to be a fun one down in Greeley. Hopefully we'll see a couple more touchdowns down there as well. That's it for this week. For Keaton Galogly, I'm Ashley Washburn. We'll see you next week.